Hello everyone, another edition of Mark's Side of the Ring. It's been too long, hasn't it? It's been too long. But I'm Mike Norris. Kev was with us a minute ago. Is he still here? He's disappeared off my screen. Did anyone see Kev?
Fine, no.
He's disappeared. Well, hopefully we'll get Kev back. Fingers crossed. I'll keep an eye on my phone and see if he drops us any messages in the meantime and lets us know what's going on. But we do have Robbie, David, and Peter with us. How you doing, guys? You all right?
All good.
I'm enjoying I know Robbie had it a couple of weeks ago. I'm enjoying the whole Mark's Side of the Ring logo in the background. I always think that's pretty cool. I always think that's awesome. And I think we were talking before we went on. There was quite a bit of bashing of Bret Hart going on the last episode. And I know that obviously Peter, being one of the biggest advocates of the Hitman, probably has some things to say about that. Here we go. Kev's back. How you doing, Kev? You all right?
Yeah, good. How's everybody?
Awesome,
good, man.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm sure he's got things to say about that. We've also got to kind of cover our predictions for Crown Jewel, which feels like a million years ago now, but unfortunately we couldn't get together. Kind of closer to the time to break that down. And then it's Full Gear this weekend for AEW. So there's loads going on. Absolutely crazy. So I think the best thing to do is just dive right into the news with our breaking news correspondent, Mr. Peter Handy. Here we go.
Alright, so before I'll put the knife down a bit. Before the news, just a couple of shout outs to start the show. First of all, to the legend that is Eddie Guerrero. Today marks the 80th year of his tragic passing. A man who lied, cheated and stole, but more importantly entertained his way into the hearts of wrestling fans worldwide for all generations. And his legacy is still seen and felt and will no doubt be for generations to come. If anything summed up Eddie, it was perhaps his final televised match on SmackDown against Mr. Kennedy, where that famous smile flashed over his face for one last time and we all smiled back at him. Thank you, Eddie. Viva la raza. Also, shout out to one Robbie Barnes, who's been killing it on the socials this week over on Facebook, X, IG, and even Threads. If only an articulated, accurate Bret Hart take, we might have something going there. While we may have had a brief hiatus, the world of wrestling has spun on nonetheless, so let's get into it. WWE Intercontinental Champion Gunther revealed this month that due to visa restrictions, he is unable to wrestle outside of the US for the next 6 months, meaning he will miss the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in Perth. After reviewing the details of the visa, it does not appear as restrictive as that of Roman Reigns, which only allows him to wrestle 5 times a year before returning to his island of relevancy, windmilling into the early hours. On a more serious note, the visa restrictions and conditions are a big factor in waiting national free agents decide to apply their trade, something that should be kept in mind when pontificating on where certain free agents may end up. And on the subject of free agents, Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins had a Twitter exchange a lot friendlier than their 2019 interactions, with Seth letting Ospreay know that the waters are indeed warm. Rumours continue to fly on the landing spot of the aerial assassin, with Fightful Select reporting that WWE had made preliminary overtures towards Ospreay, but WWE did not comment in an official capacity on what those overtures entailed. The final destination of Ospreay is sure to keep fans talking long after the decision is made, with AEW, Impact, and even his current home of New Japan Pro Wrestling still seemingly in play. Still on free agents, and it really wouldn't be a week in wrestling without CM Punk making some kind of news. Despite Punk himself saying he won't be at Survivor Series due to tickets almost being sold out, the teasers continue to come harder than a cam girl trying to get you $1.99 a minute, apparently. One thing we do know, if Punk is at Survivor Series, thousands of wrestling fans will simultaneously feel No Nut November or collectively cry a river deeper than the one Mikel Arteta cried last week. In other WWE news, it was announced that Vincent McMahon was putting 30% of his TKO stock up for sale at a current value of approximately $700 million, or Scrooge McDuck money. This followed TKO admitting that the presence of VKM on the board still poses a financial risk to the company. What role Vince continues to play in the overall scheme of things becomes vague by the day, with his seemingly removal from creative becoming clearer. Has the Emperor finally realized he isn't actually wearing any clothes? And finally on WWE, it was announced that NXT had secured a new home on the CW network starting in 2024. No news on the figure of the rights fee involved, with rumored is either double the current $15 million a year or at least a 70% increase, taking it to $25.5 million a year. The arrival of NXT to CW seems to have put an end to the possibility of NWA Power making the network its new home. Well, that and James Mitchell simulating the snorting of a line of coke on one of their last shows. Though my sources tell me CW were more concerned that a company in 2023 would actually book James Mitchell. And from coke-filled segments to some coke-fueled decision-making, Chris Jericho revealed that his counter to Powerhouse Will Hobbs was Paul White, and Tony Khan announced that Ric Flair has signed a multi-year agreement with AEW, while Ric Flair later announced he's being cleared to take bumps in the ring. Insert Dr. Nick Riviera jokes here at your will. And speaking of guys whose glory days are behind them, we want to wish our own Kevin Northup a belated happy 40th birthday. Please be sure to let him know that War Games needs 2 rings, no ifs, ands, buts, or coconuts, lest the ghost of Dusty Rhodes comes and drops a bionic elbow on him, baby. On a brighter note for AEW, while booking has begun to raise some concerns, the build to the mystery of who's behind the Devil Mask continues to grow, with interest still intriguing the fan base, with speculation ranging from Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Britt Baker, and yes, even CM Punk all being bandied about as the possible devil. It goes without saying that they have continued to put excellent in-ring action, with MJF Omega, FTR against Commander and Vikingo, the clear standouts in recent weeks, along with the simmering standout feud with Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. And while I have taken some jabs at AEW, it is in genuine good nature, and after all the turmoil of the past 12 months, wrestling fans, despite the online discourse, are still rooting for AEW's success. Hopefully the upcoming Full Gear, World's End, and the recently announced Continental Collision Tournament will help reassure the company's footing. And outside the news, we will be bringing you an update on the Wrestling Profits League after Crown Jewel, our predictions for Full Gear, thoughts on who's behind the Devil Mask, and why Bret Hart is so fucking awesome. That was the best news there is. That was the best news there was. That was the best news there ever will be. Until next week. And this is Mark's Side of the Ring, and I'm out this motherfucker.
Boom. Mic drop. I enjoyed that immensely. See, this is why, you know, this is why I handed it over. It's yeah, respect, absolute respect. And you know, there's so much we could talk about. We could get stuck in all those news items, but I think we'd be here all night. We did talk about Will Ospreay a bit last time and kind of where we think we're going. I think what's interesting is as we get closer to the Survivor Series, you know, there's chatter about Will Ospreay for next year. There's chatter about CM Punk imminently. And I like the idea that perhaps he's just kind of, you know, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but just kind of sitting at home just thinking, I'm just going to piss everybody up on social media and just have them presume I'm going everywhere. How crazy would it be to think that maybe this time next year, you know, because for me, they're probably the two potential kind of biggest free agents, as it were, kind of floating around at the moment. How crazy would it be to think that potentially one company could have both of them?
I think if someone asked you this question this time last year, no one would have said potentially that Ospreay and Punk would have been there. But there's been a big shift in more people seemingly wanting to go to WWE than there was in the past. I think people know the reasons probably why. That seems to be a more appetizing place to go. But, you know, that's, you know, AEW also has its benefits. They've got a schedule that is a little bit more not relaxed, but not quite as brutal as the WWE travel one. There's fewer house shows. And obviously there's the ability to still do other shows if people so wish to do so. So there's positives to both sides. It really does depend on the person and what they want to get out of their career at that given point.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I know, like, if we rewind about sort of like maybe 15 years or something, TNA was that destination that they had the like schedule. So you had your Kevin Nash's, your Booker T's, your Mick Foley's, your Scott Steiners that were winding down their careers, if not in Mick's case, technically retired. You know, that would come in and work that like a schedule and almost get a bit of a second wind. And it feels like AEW was at first the alternative. You know, you had your Four Pillars, your Orange Cassidy's, all of this kind of stuff. But then, I mean, some of the names that you kind of dropped there in the news, but Paul White's been signed for a while now, but he's, you know, due to be involved in this big match. Ric Flair saying that he's clear to take bumps, which, I mean, we could do a whole hour on that. You know, do you think, Robbie, do you think AEW is becoming that destination for better or for worse for the veteran talent? Like Peter's saying, have a lighter schedule and maybe kind of have that last run.
Worse for me. It feels like now it's starting to become a bit of a retirement home. first couple years, you had young wrestlers still, that have just been released from the WWE, finding a new destination. Now it just feels like it's kind of becoming like TNA was, where the older wrestlers who couldn't quite cut it in WWE anymore went down to TNA, and now I just feel like they're doing the same with AEW. I mean, however, Ric Flair, do we really want to see him in another fucking match? Like, seriously? I don't, because it might be his fucking last one.
I don't know if anyone had seen, he'd said in an interview or in a tweet that he wanted to face MJF in a match. And MJF suggested a Buried Alive match. Which, but I guess there's part of him that makes a point that, I mean, surely, David, it must be a bit frustrating in some ways. I mean, I guess, don't get me wrong, to have like a Christian Cage or an Adam Copeland in your locker room is amazing, to be able to kind of, bring the new talent up and kind of show them, all the decades of experience they've got. But there must be an element of frustration when that house was built primarily on kind of new stars, homegrown.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, God, you're bringing in these old guys that are taking my spot, but I can't get there because you're putting them in the spot I needed to be in. And I think that's what's happening. And please, Rick, never wrestle again. Please. I'm a total Ric Flair mark, and I never want to see him wrestle again.
Did anyone see the Ric Flair's last match, the tag team match? I think it was him and Andrade El Idolo against Jeff Jarrett. I think it might have been Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, possibly. It was definitely Jarrett. And it was, I mean, you talk about being like, I'm a Jeff Jarrett mark all the way. Like, I love anything he does. Like, but watching Flair in that match was tough because he's an old guy, and I thought he genuinely passed out in that match at some point. I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Twice.
But he was
Twice.
Yeah.
I know
So it's one thing. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's one thing, I know Conrad Thompson put this big event on, and there was a big kind of show around it. That's one thing that a lot of people saw it, or at least heard about it. Be quite another for that to happen on a AEW event, like a pay-per-view or something like that. If we move away from him being in ring, Kev, do you think Ric Flair's got something to offer the AEW product at the moment, or do you think it is time for him to maybe enjoy his retirement and just kind of the fruits of a career well done?
Needs to retire. I mean, the Shawn Michaels match was perfect at WrestleMania.
It really was.
Shouldn't have seen it. That should have been the pinnacle. The "Sorry, I Love You" sweet chin music. It was perfect. It was like poetry, like about our career should end. And I don't know, he's just pissing on his legacy. I think wrestling now. I really think he is.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Because I think about like, I mean, I know Kev, you said you've had a little bit of wrestling like in-ring training and stuff in the past, but I imagine like for the majority of us listening and part of the show, like we haven't. And I think one thing that we maybe can't grasp is kind of the buzz that people get from the wrestlers get from being in the ring. Like I've had experiences where I've been like on stage, or I've been kind of in front of people, even when I'm doing like my book tours and stuff, and I'm meeting people, and that's much smaller scale than doing like a wrestling event, be that an indie event or WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of the wrestlers say, like when we think about Taker and Mick Foley and Hulk Hogan and a lot of wrestlers that struggled to kind of to hang it up, and I think that Flair's a really, really good example of that. I mean, do you think? Does anyone think there's like David? I know obviously it sounds like you're possibly his biggest fan here. Like, do you think he should be an ongoing presence on TV? Like, I know they're saying he's here for Sting's retirement tour, so to speak. Would you kind of keep him around after that, or do you think that serves its purpose?
To me, his last match should have been the Shawn Michaels match, and I think everything he does from now on is just for money. He must be paying for his divorces or something.
Yeah, and it's
doesn't want to,
and again, it's go for it.
You don't want to go down the route like Nikolai Volk. I thought it was bloody wrestling in gymnasiums. Like there was one point as well where he basically wrestled with no ring. They basically put markers down where the turnbuckle should have been, and like he wanted to go out and like massive 100,000 seat arenas, and I don't know. Like, I know some wrestlers will wrestle until they die, like Roddy Piper said as well. But I don't know. Someone like Ric Flair, he doesn't just to have got on a high. I think.
I know we're probably veering away from current news a little bit, but just out of interest as well, we're talking about it. Who do you think has had the best kind of retirement, the best final match where they were like, that's it, I'm done, and ended it perfectly?
Undertaker for me is the closest because his retirement was boom. Now that's it. It probably wasn't the way he wanted to go out. It's not the way I wanted to see him go out, but he's stuck to his guns. And obviously, since he's been doing all these interviews, he's admitted he can't go back to the dead man gimmick now because he's built character.
Yeah.
Undertaker for me, but he's actually stayed retired. He knows he can't. He probably can do it, but he's got a legacy that he wants to protect.
And I know the answer for me was always Shawn Michaels before the first Crown Jewel. I just thought that was perfect. I think for me, I think for me, like obviously I was nervous to hear Stone Cold was coming back a year or so ago, but again, like I don't think you can fault the match that he put in with Owens. So again, if that's the end of the line, I'm happy with that. I think Stone Cold's kind of stuck to his guns a little bit there. Come back with someone that he knew he could have a safe but passable match. Well, I say passable, it was more than that, but that was probably the aim, just to make sure it was a match that was safe. But I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, are there any other ones that stick out in terms of kind of great retirements or great ends to a career?
That's a good one.
Never. Dusty Rhodes never went back to wrestling. He just retired and then went on to the side of it. But you never saw Dusty get back in the ring and wrestle. I don't think he ever. He always had the other side where after he retired, that was it. I don't think he could medically do it, but
yeah. And I mean, speaking of retirements as well, there's a lot of kind of teasing on social media. We'll talk about, we'll talk about kind of the Saudi event shortly, but there was a lot of rumor. Thompson says rumor and innuendo. I like that. Rumor and innuendo about John Cena and how that potentially might have been his last match. Obviously, we'll talk all about the event shortly. Just quickly, do we think that's John Cena's last match, or do we think we see him one more time at least?
I think he's got another world title running him.
Yeah.
Solely because of the Ric Flair situation. He's not a WWE guy anymore. And I was listening to Busted Open on Spotify, and they were saying, well, Bully Ray was saying, if someone in WWE gets a bit pissed off, so to speak, that he signed with AEW, they might, just for that fact, let Cena break his record. Because then it's a WWE guy who's got that record, not currently an AEW guy. I think maybe,
and like I say, we'll talk all about the match shortly and the event in general. I know a few of us, because it was coming from Saudi Arabia, most live, which is a novelty, to be honest, unless we're staying up till 1 a.m. here in the UK. So that's all good, really. Talking about WWE and kind of current stars and stuff, because it is, I think, we're talking about AEW kind of turning into, I think as Roy put it, like the retirement of the veterans. WWE, almost kind of in the space of a year or so, is finally doing what we've wanted them to do for years, and that's kind of push that young talent to the top of the card and get people into the mix and stuff. One of those guys, one of my absolute favorites, is Gunther. Now, as Peter was saying, obviously, Gunther that he's not able to leave the US for 6 months due to kind of visa stuff. Must be really strict criteria over there in terms of kind of keeping and maintaining your visa, which means unfortunately he will miss Elimination Chamber in Scotland, in Australia in February. Couldn't have been any different there, could it? It means we're not going to see him on any international tours or anything, at least for the next 6 months. I mean, what do you think, Peter? Do you think that possibly derails his chances of holding on to that Intercontinental title? Do you think that reign's coming to an end? Because I guess if I was WWE, I'd be eyeing him up for a World Heavyweight Championship run pretty soon.
I think it depends on kind of what the visa restrictions entails. If it's you're only allowed out within the first year, like once a year, twice a year, whatever, then the rest of the time you've got to be back. So once every 6 months, you can maybe leave the country and do whatever, but then you've got to be kind of back and continue work. So he might be able to go out the country on holiday, but he might not be able to go and work if he's for whatever. I think probably within the next 6 months, I think we're looking at a future world heavyweight champion without a shadow of a doubt. I think the program's probably going to be him and Cody. Seems such a natural fit for both of them. And I think the tricky thing is, how does he lose the Intercontinental title and lose upwards without, do you do a triple threat so he doesn't get pinned, but then, you know, you want someone to feel elevated by beating Gunther at the same point. So, you know, it's just who they've got ready to take that next spot. A nice thing would be having a Warrior Hogan type of vibe where it's the IC champ versus the world champ, and he wins both, and the offer says, unfortunately, you can't defend both, or one has to be relinquished, where you need to relinquish the IC title for whatever. There'll be workaround where it doesn't seem too contrived or just vacating the title. But I think 100% he's a world champion in the future, and yeah, it'd be the perfect, I think, foil for Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I just like, even just mentioning that feud, like I'm really looking forward to seeing that, just from kind of how they've built the two up. I think it's really exciting. But again, there's potentially, because again, I quite like your scenario, but there's potentially the small matter of him losing the Intercontinental title first. I mean, David, who would be your candidate if you could pick someone to take that title from him? Because I've heard two kind of rumors, one of them being Chad Gable, the other being Brock Lesnar. What would be your pick?
Obviously, he's wrestling The Miz at Survivor Series. There we go. Perfect win. Miz, all the way.
Miz?
Yep, that's me being very sarcastic, by the way.
I was hoping so. I love The Miz, but I was hoping so.
The Miz is doing great work again. When he was heading over the world title matches that he had.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gonna have a chest like Kofi Kingston when he's finished at the Survivor Series. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Like I say, it's interesting to read, because I think it's, for me, I think I love the matches that he had with Sheamus so much. In my head for a long time, I felt like it should be Sheamus that takes it. But then obviously the match with Chad Gable was fantastic. So I think that's got people really excited, and that elevates someone new. But then I had heard, because I do, again, the idea of a Brock Lesnar Gunther match is quite frankly awesome. But I don't know if I would want Lesnar to walk away with an Intercontinental title. I think I'd sooner want Gunther to beat Lesnar, because I think that just kind of, what a lift that gives someone who's already absolutely soaring.
I think Randy Orton's due back soon as well. So could Randy Orton take it?
I mean, what do you think, Kev? Any thoughts?
Maybe Imperium versus a Bloodline might be a good angle.
Yeah.
Like have them conflict, like Gunther and Roman against each other, and then like the Usos, well, one of the Usos and Siki Solo against his Imperium cronies. I don't know, can't think of it off the top of my head, but I think that'd be a good way to bring them into the mainstream, and maybe have a fight against the Bloodline. But again, it might be the whole like Germany versus America thing. It might be funny to get away from that, like with Sergeant Slaughter when he become an Iraqi sympathizer and stuff. So
I think it's really resonated with me about it being the right person, because I think, like, if you think of the man he's eclipsed to become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, like, you know, the Ultimate Warrior just mowed him down like the title reign meant nothing, and I think something like that would be absolutely horrendous. Like, I guess the equivalent is having like a Brock Lesnar come and just squash him in 90 seconds and taking the belt, and I think that would be horrendous when the two of them could have a hell of a match. But I feel like it would be more of a classic, you know, with kind of the career that Brock's had if Gunther walked away with that. So again, I think for me, it's thinking about whoever beats him, it's going to be a big deal. So maybe it's about making a new star.
Maybe even Pete Dunne as well.
Yeah.
They've got a
Not
bit of
Butch.
history, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah. Pete Dunne, actual Pete Dunne, not that Peaky Blinder knockoff. Actual Pete Dunne.
I thought even like Pete Butch Dunne would have been all right, but I just like I feel
We'll get
like
there.
but no, yeah.
I've
But let's
got
look at.
a couple of dark horses for the Gunther. So one I'd love to see. I'd love to see him go against Tyler Bate again. Their match at TakeOver Cardiff was incredible, and it's that diverse last night. The dark horse shout, I think, is Dragunov.
I think they should definitely have a feud at some point again.
Just
like
put that
revisit
on
that on the main roster.
Put that in one of the Europe shows if they do it. There's rumors that they're doing Backlash in Paris, and obviously there's the Berlin one. And obviously neither of them are German, but within that European crowd, it's it's sort of like home turf in a sense. But just have it with big stadiums like that, I think put it on that scale and get those guys and let them show a wider audience. Why everyone's kind of excited to see Dragunov on NXT every week. Like you say, he's not the reason you're tuning in, but he's one of the reasons why you're coming back every week once you've turned in. So definitely.
Let's talk about the CW in America, because I find there's a few angles of this that I find really, really interesting. So obviously NXT and Raw are looking for new homes. It's been, as of next year anyway, it's been confirmed that NXT will be broadcast on the CW. Okay, so for those who obviously those who aren't aware, the CW's like, or at least my understanding of it is like a lot of like One Tree Hill and stuff like that used to be on the CW, but I think they're obviously trying to diversify as a network, and they've clearly been looking for a wrestling show. So we'll talk about something else that I'd read a little bit earlier on, because there's a part of it I find really interesting. But obviously it's NXT that have got it. But also, it really looked before then that like it was a lock that the NWA were going to have their show on there. Now, that doesn't seem to be the case now. I was hoping that maybe they'd be able to fight back from it, because I was really hoping that they could get a good deal. I think what I'd read originally was that, an alternative might have been that they'd been on the CW app, like the streaming site. But with WWE being on the channel now, like I don't know if that's the case. For anyone who isn't aware, obviously, as Peter was saying in the news, the CW didn't take it too kindly to an angle on an NWA pay-per-view where Jim Mitchell was snorting a white substance, very heavily implied to be cocaine. The excuse that I've read that Billy Corgan had said was, well, the CW said they wouldn't be watching the pay-per-views and they'd only be concerned about the TV product. Now, it's such it's such a difficult thing, and I know that Billy Corgan, clearly he's juggling his music career and his wrestling career and this, that, and the other. How an own goal is this? Do you think that I mean, he's done such a good job in building it up, and then just at this moment, it just falls at the wayside.
I believe the kids call it fumbling the bag.
I mean, I want to know who signed off on it. Like, yeah, you're having a production meeting. I would want to do this spot where they're sniffing cocaine. Should be all right, shouldn't it? Like what goes through their fucking head?
Corgan's idea.
Yeah, I've heard he's at least accepted responsibility, if not said it was his idea.
That's even worse. It's like how to ruin a TV deal in what the clip was, 20 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
even if it wasn't his
I've not
idea,
actually seen the offending clip. Yeah.
The clip is lit about 4 or 5 people around the table. He's knocking the white powder out, knocking it into lines, and then snorting it.
Putting on a spoon.
Yeah. It's madness, man, that they thought it would be a good idea. What, because they thought CW weren't watching? That's like coming into the sitting room and seeing the kids kicking shit out of each other. Oh, well, you weren't here, you weren't watching. Like, how?
I don't remember. I don't remember Lucas and Nathan from One Tree Hill snorting cocaine. I don't know if anyone watched it. That was my guilty pleasure at university. I bloody loved that show.
I mean, they didn't even do stuff like that in the Attitude Era. An era where they could have really got away with it.
Because it made me feel like, is it like, did he give Vince Russo a ring and be like, what can I do? What can I put on the pay-per-view to see what, to get people talking? But then I think even Vince Russo would probably have something to say about that, to be honest, in terms of things he speaks out about these days.
I guarantee the sentence would have started with bro, had a bro in the middle.
Bro. The thing is,
and then a bro at the end. It's like when I was writing the news, because I'd seen a clip of like he was on Nash's podcast and bits of that, and he was talking about something, and everything was like bro, and I was trying to get like a bit in about the Vince Russo bro count currently at, whatever, and I was like, fuck it, I'm not giving him the time of day.
Well, apologies for doing so.
No, just for me. I mean, yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
It was just, I think I was like, it's too much. It's too hard to work it in. But it was just like, it's bro. I'm like, dude, no.
I do wonder if that's like a character, like a performance. Do you know what I mean? If that's like when he kind of turns himself up, like kind of like wrestlers do and stuff, or whether that's just how he speaks. Do you know what I mean? Like in kind of day-to-day conversation, I'd be really interested to know that.
When Jim Cornette talks about him, he says that's exactly how he is.
Yeah.
So,
I could watch Cornette rip the shit out of Russo all day, every day, twice on a Sunday. It is the fucking best thing in the world.
Jim Cornette.
So I tell you, what were you going to say, Kev?
Jim Cornette was saying he wants to outlive Russo so he can piss on his grave. When I watched that, I thought that's amazing.
He's even got a T-shirt with that on him. So.
That's what's keeping them alive. He said that's what's keeping them going.
Well, we've all got to have something. We've all got to have something. So I tell you what we'll do. Let's dive into the Crown Jewel. I'm just gonna. So I tell you what, it was a very interesting event in terms of like. One, I just think kind of how it went. I know I'd read some stuff where people were like kind of slating the event, and I didn't think it was half bad. I thought it was. Before we sort of dive into it a little bit more, like what were people's initial thoughts on Crown Jewel? Like, did you enjoy it? Did you think it could have been better? Like, what did you make of it?
It was all right. Felt the main event could have been a bit better. I don't think there were enough close calls with LA Knight potentially winning. Where like all these other matches, even with Jey Uso, you felt halfway through the match that Jey could actually walk out with this. I just didn't get that feeling with the main event, unfortunately, and I'm a big LA Knight fan. Nothing on him, just I didn't quite like the booking.
I think a big complaint online has been that it feels very formulaic now in terms of like what a Roman Reigns championship match. I'd read people saying like they can kind of time the run in by like the second as to when Solo's going to run in or Jimmy or whatever. Like play it like, I mean, we've talked about for months, if not a couple of years now, how great the Bloodline storyline has been. Like, has it jumped the shark a bit? Are we wanting to get to the end, be it Cody or whoever, to take the title and move on to something new?
Yeah, it's just same shit, different match, isn't it, really?
I think that's by design.
I've read it's by design, so they're trying to piss the fans off to a point where they start hating Roman Reigns, and when this babyface comes and beats him, they're gonna get the biggest pop any babyface could actually get.
I think more so in terms of match layout, where you've got it's constant interference, like Robbie's saying, you can almost kind of time it. It's this, and then it's this. And I think, especially if, and we're all theorizing it's going to be Cody Roman again at 40, if you get that same sequence where they do a callback and Solo spikes him again, and that's the callback to the last time, and then you get the kick out. And I think, so it's one of these things you've got to kind of take it on the chin a little bit to kind of get that reward, which the ironic thing, it's something that fans have been crying out for ages. And then when they get it, it's like, oh, but I want it now. So,
instant gratification.
Yeah. I also think long-term storytelling's a myth, but that's a whole different podcast.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I'd heard some people really bashing the event. Like, I thought it was decent. It's probably the first Saudi event that's kind of held my interest all the way through, without getting too political, for personal reasons, for many years, because I just didn't think that it was good that they were going over there, quite frankly. But obviously when we're doing these and when the product's good and stuff, I thought, you know what, like let's give it a try. So I have watched the last couple, and I did think, like I say, it was a good event. As you should be able to see now, this is kind of where we're standing in terms of our Wrestle Profit League. Now, after the end of Fastlane last time, everybody on 22, and I was trailing behind on 18. Yeah, so I had a lot of work to do. But as you can see by that beautiful green line on my screen, I actually did a full sweep, and I got everybody, every match correct, and the 5-pointer, in fact, as well. So I was feeling very smug by the time I came out of Crown Jewel. But we'll see how that affects the scores in a little bit. So like I say, we'll kind of see people's reactions and that sort of thing. So we'll start with Io Sky and Bianca. What I'm going to say before any of this, the moon that Kairi's saying is back. One of my favorites on the WWE Women's roster for a long time. Really pleased and that it seems like they're really getting behind her as well. I mean, our 5-pointer was another as Damian Priest cashing in. Did anyone have Kairi coming back on their bingo card?
No.
Not a Crown Jewel. I didn't think.
And I think that's what's great, because there was stuff there. There was rumors about her coming back. There was like, people were saying, "Oh, she signed a deal." Stuff online between a couple of websites getting a bit shirty with each other about like who'd reported what and this, that, and the other. But I don't think anyone dreamed she was turning up in Saudi. So, and for me, the prospect of Io, Asuka, Kairi stable, which probably came a bit closer to realization on SmackDown, is really exciting. I mean, you did think that Bianca Belair was going to win. Why was that? Were you shocked with the result? Were you quite confident that Bianca was going over, or was that a tough one?
I just thought Bianca, because she'd been away for a little while, and probably wanted that belt back, and I thought they would have wanted to keep the Saudi fans happy, but I suppose the women's matches weren't really the Saudi fans' thing by the way they went on during the matches. There wasn't much fanfare.
No, and to be fair, it was quite a heel heavy night, which is why, like I say, I was pleasantly surprised with how I did in terms of kind of the predictions, because I'd say Cody and Seth were probably the only like kind of baby faces really that went over. I mean, if we talk about the other women's match, which was Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Nia Jax, and Raquel Rodriguez, so just basically chucking all the most powerful, the powerhouses of the women's division in the ring and letting them go at it for a bit. Again, I think it was a foregone conclusion that Rhea was going over. Like, there would have been absolute idiots to strip her of the title at this point. Do we think, and I think through no fault of her own, I think it's more been to do with the Judgment Day story taking priority and just kind of not much attention to a championship opponents and stuff. I think our title reign's been not quite what we expected. Do you think that this kind of was a step in the right direction, Peter, or do you think it was just more of the same?
No, it's definitely a step in the right direction. I think some of the criticisms are not totally undeserved, but I think it's the needed time to build the women's division back up, and obviously they've prioritized other things in this new creative shift before that, and then they've gone, right, you can't get that many people over at the same time, so let's do this first and do this. And if the goal is, we don't think we've got enough women ready, that's a believable challenger for Rhea, because there haven't been many the way the roster's split up. So chuck them all in the ring. Jax, Rodriguez, Zoe Stark showed out well again as well. Baszler's always, respectable. That spot at the end where she did the riptide on top of everyone and then did the stack pin, it was class. And I think it'll potentially be her and Becky Maybe's at WrestleMania, but I don't really see anybody knocking her off the perch right now. And I think they're just taking a bit of time, getting everything else in a line and go, right, we'll give her a bit of a bit more focused now. But I think the character work she's done in the Judgment Day is helped enormously as well to keep her in the spotlight without using her in a match. Like when she wrestles, it's a big deal, and they managed to strike that balance quite well with her, keeping her on TV at the same time.
Yeah, and it's not a knock to her at all, like any criticism I've got, because like for me, she's one of my favorite wrestlers, full stop, on the roster at the minute. I think she's absolutely awesome. I guess for me, it's more a desire that I just want to see her in hard hitting matches. But then I think AEW's injury you kind of go full force every night. So protecting her a little bit and maybe kind of building her up to those tougher matches maybe isn't the worst thing, in hindsight. Let's move on to the World Heavyweight title match. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre opened the show, which I think was a nice surprise as well. My head said Seth, but my heart said Drew. But I don't think it's necessarily over between the two of them. I mean, Robbie, what did you make of the match?
I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I was expecting the heel turn at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's disappointing on that because, I like to be right. But it's not all.
Remember that in a few minutes.
Because there's rumors he's going to be joining the Judgment Day team at War Games. I do think he's going to join. He's a good fit. He's got that look about him where he can fit in. I do think eventually he will win the title. I think he's the next one. But with the help of the Judgment Day. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good match. A good way to start the show.
I mean, were you surprised at the title? Like, did it feel like a foregone conclusion, or similar to what I was saying to David before about the women's title match? Like, was it a hard choice to make?
Yeah, and I think when I found out they were first on the card, I'm like, he's not going to drop the title. The first match, he'll just not do it. So then, obviously, I picked Drew at first, but then when it was the first match, I'm like, it's not going to happen. Enjoyed the match though, but yeah, I think what Robbie said, it's not over that. Rather, I think it can go right up until Mania. So we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then again, obviously Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest. Again, most of us, certainly all of us that were kind of on the podcast last time, went with Cody. But Peter, you went another way. You were thinking Damian Priest. What were your reasons for that? And were you shocked to see Priest losing Saudi?
No, I wasn't shocked. It was just one of those things that I wasn't expecting. Didn't think Priest was going to kind of win clean or anything like. There might have been some form of interference or something like that, or a little bit of cheating. It was just a little bit maybe to keep Cody honest. Obviously, he got smashed with the ankle and type of thing. So he was just kind of more looking from where the story may have went. So I just thought gives a little bit more, because then obviously if Priest wins, he looks maybe he's a little bit more dangerous, maybe for a cash in. But obviously, the match happened, the World Heavyweight title match happened early in the story, so kind of threw that out the window kind of as soon as it happened. So it was just I think they might just give a bit of a rub, because it wouldn't have harmed Cody in the slightest, and whatever, especially if it was a screwy finish, just for that reason alone, just to help give a little bit more heat on Priest. But I don't think it was the wrong call either way, to be fair.
I
think it keeps the fire going for War Games, doesn't it?
Can I just say how happy I was to see Sami Zayn? As soon as I saw Priest come down in that first match, I was like, oh no, that's the 5-pointer gone. And then Sami Zayn, boom, and then pisses off a bit. I was like, you'll do me. Thank you.
Well, it's funny. I still waited with bated breath all the way through. I don't know if I was just being naive or what, but I thought, because I know Sammy had the contract, but I thought they could do some kind of angle towards the end, but fortunately it didn't happen for the sake of the 5-point there. One or two kind of weeps that we got was Logan Paul beating Rey Mysterio for the US title. We talked on the last show about how that was the right move, and I think he's already proven that, kind of turning up at UFC and shout outs to Dominic Mysterio and Kev about War Games rings. for me, this is exactly what I was thinking. Like he can use that celebrity and he can use that public image to promote WWE to be a dick and just like absolutely do his thing. And I think it's just brilliant to see. And for me, I know people feel differently. I've had no issue with Logan Paul or anything he's done at any point with WWE. I think, is he a YouTuber? Yes. Has he held his end of the bargain in every match he's been in? Yes. And can we talk for a minute about him saving Rey Mysterio from landing on his head? Because that was, bloody hell, to him, mind, respect.
100%.
I didn't see that when it happened live. It wasn't until I watched the replays and I was like, that could have ended so much worse.
Yeah.
But it was having the, believe it or not, in his rookie, the experience to shift forward.
Yeah.
And catch him. Most rookies wouldn't have probably clicked on, and we've got Rey Mysterio eating through a straw.
And bear in mind, if we think it's Logan Paul's it's like a 6th or 7th match or something like that. I think we've probably only done slightly more podcasts than him. He's had wrestling matches, and I think I'd read somebody saying something like, "Oh well, he was probably out of position and that's why he had to move forward." And okay, maybe, but he's not even had 10 wrestling matches, and he's still had the wherewithal to be like, "Oh shit, I need to jump forward and catch this guy." I don't think you can knock him at all, because we see wrestlers who've been doing it for years be out of position and botch and stuff all the time, and that's part of that's part of it. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean they're bad at what they do. It just means that everybody makes mistakes. So for him to be able to do that, he just seems to have the instincts for it. But he's also he's a naturally unlikable person. But then when you see him I've seen him interviewing the WWE stars on his podcast, and those interviews, I quite enjoy them actually when I've seen clips of those. So, I think some of that's maybe a bit of a performance, kind of the unlikability stuff, but power to him. And I'm really excited to see what he does with this US title reign, because I think it could be a lot of fun.
Also, we've been calling Adam Cole a dirty little liar.
Yes.
And it's been Escobar the whole fucking time. As soon as I saw him put those brass knuckles on the apron, I was like, right, here we go. Piece of shit.
You left them
but
for
how
Ray?
to get over
You
as a massive heel? How to get over as a massive heel? Turn on Ray. They've been doing it for years, decades.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it'd be interesting to see how Carlito fits into that as well, because I'm so pleased to see Carlito back. I feel like they should have used him more since he came back, quite frankly. But
new leader of the LWO as a heel.
Yeah,
calling it now. It was all a plan.
So I'd say the one match that probably kind of split us the most in terms of dividing us was John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. Now, really interesting, because I think we felt very differently quite strongly for the reasons why. I think some people were like, he's really built up, he's on this losing streak, there's no way he's losing in front of the Saudi fans. I was very much like, this is Solo's moment, this is a big deal, this is something that's going to happen. I mean, Peter, you felt the same because you've gone Solo as well. I'm going to kind of go to the guys who went with Cena. Did it? Were you? Because I feel like he lost in quite convincing fashion as well. It was not far away from certainly squashed him at SummerSlam. I mean, what were your thoughts on that? Watching it back.
I was shocked at how easy it was. I mean, I thought he was going to win for that reason, the whole shining light on the losing streak. I mean, to say now John Cena doesn't give back, that argument now kind of doesn't hold any weight.
Yeah.
Because he has, and he's elevated Solo Sikoa more than I think anybody else in the WWE has, even more than Roman Reigns. But yeah, I was shocked. But it's like I think I was chatting to you, Mike, when you said it was the right way to do it, because now it makes Solo look like a badass.
Yeah, and I don't think it takes away from Cena or anything that he's done. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like he's the older guy. He got beaten by the younger guy convincingly, and I guess Cena's got the humility to not be like, that's not going to work for me, brother. He's come in and he's like, yep, I'm going back to Hollywood now. I'm going to go out on my back. And I think that's kind of the old school mentality, isn't it? That's what used to happen, and as we've said, we don't think it's going to be his last match necessarily. But it certainly might be for a while. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see the John Cena who comes back. I've heard some people complain about the match though, and maybe say that they didn't think it was great. And again, like I'd said to you at the time, Robbie, I feel like maybe it wasn't necessarily a Meltzer 5-star classic, but I felt like it was what it needed to be. I mean, what did you think of the match, David? Did you think it was a good match? Did you think it was quite poor? I mean, what were your thoughts?
The John Cena match with a conclusive finish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many of the spikes he did to John Cena, but I think it was about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And God, you wouldn't have had Hogan do that.
No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And then in the main event, we all agreed that Roman Reigns was walking out with the title, but there was a bit of a split as to how that was going to happen. So, myself, Peter, and Robbie said, Roman was going to win, not clean so much, but it was going to be, like a decisive win. Dave and Kev, you guys thought that LA Knight might squeak out a disqualification win. I mean, what did you make? What did you make of the way they did? Like, do you feel that it kept LA Knight's kind of kept him on the rise, or do you think he loses a bit from that match, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know where they're going to go with him from now, because like whether they've got something else planned for him to give him another push. I just seem to have stopped. Like losing like that. I don't know. They might have some like Triple H is a big fan of like long time storytelling. He always says like the story's never over, so they might have something planned. I'm just trying to wonder like how they're gonna bring it back, and I just can't think of anything.
I think the significant thing that I came away with it is that he essentially had him pinned for the 3, which is the first time we've seen that in a singles match with Roman Reigns since COVID, since before COVID. So I felt like that was really significant, and I feel for me watching it, that's what I came away with. So in that sense, I felt they built him up, but I do think it's really important what happens next. I did read some stuff that people were saying, that perhaps in the eyes of WWE, he's ascended as high as he's going to go. But then I feel like there's a lot of stuff they did on SmackDown and stuff this week that they're trying to heat him up again. I don't see him winning Roman's title at any point. Perhaps a Cody and LA Knight trade off at some point. I could see LA Knight winning the World Heavyweight title at some point in the next year. But it just seems like that Universal WWE Championship is just... with it having kind of the history of those 2 titles, it just feels so much bigger than the one that Seth's carrying at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like they're planning on putting on someone really special to take it off Roman. It's got to be someone who they are 100% like the biggest babyface since Hulk Hogan. They want to take it off Roman Reigns. Sorry, and I think they want to be 100% sure it's the guy.
Do we think it's Cody?
Yeah.
My heart wants to say it is, and I hope it is.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That like even that answer, it's not just yes. It's like for some people it'd be like, yeah, I think they'd be good, but I think it's this like vested interest of like, yeah, like my heart says it is. Like I really hope it is. Like people like we're really into the story. Like there's that visceral reaction he gets when he comes out. Do you know what I mean? So I really do hope that it's Cody as well. And I was, I never disliked him. My wife hated him for a long time, like personal level, but then warmed to things that he's done lately. So she's kind of warming to Cody, and it's now Samoa Joe that she hates. But it's, but like for me, I've never disliked Cody, but like there's just something about this run and kind of the journey he's been on that's just, it's. I think I feel like that's a story that we're going to be talking about for years to come, kind of when we look back on kind of great title pursuits and stuff. So yeah.
I think the good thing they're doing is they're making it seem like it is actually has been earned. and everyone says about his joy or the adversity and the things he had to go through. And the reference, like the time he was away from WWE, was like, unfortunately, in the story they tell, that doesn't matter. As far as they're concerned, he went and did other things, which they half acknowledge. But if in terms of the story they told, that he went away, he's come back. Now, where's the adversity in? You come back at Mania, you win that match, you win your next pay-per-view match, you win your next pay-per-view match with half your tit ripped off. And then you go away. And then you come back, you come in the Rumble at 30, you win that. And then your next big match is main event night 2 WrestleMania. At what point is his return? Has there been any adversity other than getting injured? From an in-ring standpoint, there hasn't been. He's gone right to the top in a space of like 6-7 months, really, in terms of actual time there. And the first crack he's got, he's fell at the hurdle. Now he's got to build himself back up, face some challenges, get through Brock, get through this, get through that. And then when it comes, there's been a story told that, you know, at least in WWE's eyes, in their universe, in their world, he's now earned it since his return, because hasn't just went match, injury match, win. Now it seems like he's had to earn it a little bit more.
I mean, you are definitely vested in Cody. It's just with his theme music, like his first word, wrestling. I mean, he fought to keep that word in. When I watched his interview, he says he was adamant his theme tune was going to say wrestling, and Vince agreed to that, which was when we're agreeing to that, like the most want him and the most want him to be champion. Just as soon as I heard that when he come back, and when I heard like wrestling, I was like, yeah, the one who was champion.
Yeah, just like from that one moment.
Yeah, because wrestling's a swear word in WWE, so it's.
Well, at least it was, and I'm sure. Well, you know, I know we've not been able to cover Vince today and kind of the TKO shares and stuff, but I'm sure there'll be that whole thing's really fascinating, and I'm sure we'll get onto that as the weeks go on. Totally jumping back, the thing that fascinated me about the CW thing that I forgot to mention, and I don't know if anyone had seen this, just before we go to the Crown Jewel, the scores, that apparently they really, really wanted Dynamite, because obviously AEW had struggling to come to terms with Warner, and you know, obviously looking elsewhere just in case, and CW wanted them, and Tony Khan said no. So interesting that AEW seemed to be the first choice and didn't get in there. So yeah, that's just something to think about. However, let's have a look at these scores. So as you can see, we were all 22 for our running totals at the end of Fastlane. If we just look down now for the Crown Jewel totals, so this is how we did. So David scored 10. Now remember, for anyone who's not watched this before and might be a bit confused by the scores, you get 1 point for a correct match prediction, 2 if it's a title match, and then we've got our 5-pointer. You know, so again, we haven't talked about it. We talked about it briefly. Damian Priest didn't cash in at Crown Jewel, thanks to our man Sami Zayn. So David, you did get the 5 points for that. You got 2 points for Logan Paul, 2 points for Rhea Ripley, and 1 for Cody. 11 points for Peter. So again, you got most of the predictions right, but you did think that Damian Priest was going to cash in, so that cost you. So, you know, all of them except Cody and Damian Priest, you got right. I got you 11 points. 12 points for Kev. Again, you correctly predicted. Oh, no, you didn't. No, you incorrectly predicted that he was going to cash in. But you did get the US title match, the 2 women's title matches, and Cody, Damian Priest right. Robbie, the only foot you put wrong the whole evening was thinking that Cena was going to win. And myself, you know, and I'm very proud of myself that I got a full sweep there, because I don't think I've ever done that in the history of watching wrestling pay-per-views. So, you know, it was the perfect time to pull that out of the hat. In terms of how it impacts the scores, check this out here. So, we've got trailing only just in last place. It's still close. It's anybody's game. David's on 32. Peter's on 33, Kev's on 34, I'm on 35, Robbie starting to run away with it with 38, but it's still anyone's to play for. And of course, this weekend, it's Full Gear for AEW. Now, this is where we can start talking about the card. Interesting, I think, that, you know, you know, there's a little bit of, it's almost like the kid gloves are off for people's kind of feelings on AEW a little bit. That I think, you know, for a few years, you know, we gave them that benefit. Oh, well, they're the new company, they're just getting started, this, that, and the other. I think their early stuff, you know, ironically, when Cody was more involved, was fantastic. I think earlier this year in the run up to All In, they were really on a hot tread as well. Like, it was really good to watch. You know, I'm still enjoying it, but my interest has maybe waned a little bit compared to where I was. Maybe it's because I know I'm not going to the biggest wrestling show in a few weeks' time. But, you know, I'm still enjoying the shows, still enjoying the wrestlers and the product. But, you know, it's a little bit of a downturn for me. But one thing I think that AEW are always good at is at the pay-per-view turning in a cracking show. And that's kind of usually gets everybody's interest back up again. See All Out as an example of that. I think people were like, oh, well, I've just seen All In. I don't think I can be bothered to watch another AEW event. And then All Out was absolutely fantastic. So I'm confident Full Gear is going to be the same. I mean, how are people feeling? Are we looking forward to Full Gear? A little bit burnt out with AEW stuff. Where are we at?
No, I always look forward to an AEW like pay-per-view because it's always good.
Yeah.
And have the discussion about how we get there is a totally different thing. But on the night, you get your money's worth, and that cannot be argued. So everything else is a totally different discussion. But as for the night, I'm looking forward to it. And they made that
particularly here in the UK when we pay like 20 quid or something for the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
like
I want my money's worth.
Yeah.
After years of
Absolutely.
getting them for free.
Well, this is it. I mean, to be fair, I think WWE Network's an awesome thing as well. Like that, you know, that we're paying a tenner a month, you know, and getting the events that we're getting as well. You know, I think it's an amazing time to be a wrestling fan in that sense. Where, you know, I do feel sorry paying like $50 or something for an event. You know, it's a lot of money, but it shows your commitment if you're splashing out that money for the shows. Let's dive into some of these predictions now. Again, I think there's some really potential for some. I think all the matches, to be honest, have the potential to be amazing. So we're talking about them putting on a hell of a card. Like, I think this will be no exception. You might have noticed I've left out MJF and a mystery partner against the Guns because that's part of the pre-show. We can have a bit of a chat about it if you want, but we're just doing the main card. As always, if any matches get added on Dynamite or Collision before Full Gear, you know, we'll have a chat ahead of time and get those added on. But let's start with the tag team title match. So we've got Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Big Bill, I still can it, against LFI, FTR, and Kings of the Black Throne for the AEW tag team titles. Again, sure to be, you know, a hell of a match. I'm knocking the name Big Bill, by the way. I think, you know, I actually really like him. I think the journey he's made to come back and be back in a big wrestling company and overcome his demons is amazing. I just wish they'd give him a better name. I really do. So we'll start with let's start with David. So what do you think of this match, and who do you think is going out with the tag team titles?
I've got to be honest, I haven't watched much of AEW in the last couple of weeks, so I'm not too sure. But
okay.
I'm going to go Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
Okay. Ricky and
I'd rather be FDR, but I don't think we'll put the titles back on them for a while.
Yeah, fair enough. Kev, what say you? Who are you thinking is going out with the belts?
I think it'll be Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
Oh, we don't. I mean, what do we think of them as tag team champions? Because I think it's like, I like that they're giving Ricky Starks a bit of a platform, and I actually think they've got quite a good dynamic together. But I think it's quite a surprise. I think when they won the titles, you know, that they're not quite who, you know, especially again when we're talking about the Cena solo match. Ricky Starks and Big Bill was like a squash. Do you know what I mean? Like against FTR, it was quite shocking. I mean, Peter, before we get your prediction, like how have you found the tag title reign so far?
It's enjoyable. I like it. There's a good dynamic. There's the smaller critic guy, the big guy, the work, the good heels. I like it. And you know, it's nice. Again, it's nice to see Ricky Starks got something to get his teeth into. Like, he can be on TV, get the mic time, get the ring time that he hasn't had an awful lot of, and you know, thrill for Big Bill as well. What he's gone through, and then he's come back onto a big stage. He's performed well. He's looking like the prospect WWE always thought they had, and a lot of people we thought they had as well. So I'm thrilled for them, to be totally honest. It's a nice little story, even though they're dastardly heels. It's a nice story.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's going to continue? Do you think they're walking out with the titles?
No, Kings of the Black Throne.
You see, they would be my like. They'd be my like not emotional pick, but like if I was booking it, because like House of Black, Kings of the Black Throne, I just think they're amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, what about you, Robbie? Who are you going for?
I mean, I've had it out of start to Big Bill and Kings of Black Throne. I think just because we're still in the early stages of their title run.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be Starks and Big Bill. For the simple fact, you've got Young Bucks versus Jericho and Omega. You need a heel tag team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Starks and Big Bill for me.
Mm.
Did anyone notice I put LFI because I didn't want to try and pronounce the team name, because I would have butchered it and it would have been really offensive. So I feel the same. I think, again, part of me would love to see the Kings of the Black Throne take it. I don't think they're going to, but again, that might become a bit more clear as we kind of work our way up as to why. But yeah, I'm going to go with Ricky Starks and Big Bill as well to retain. We'll move on to the TBS title now. Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Red Velvet, and Sky Blue. So there's some interesting stuff going on there. Red Velvet's not massively involved in the story around the title, but certainly the other three have been. That, you know, Julia Hart's had a title match. There's a bit of a storyline going on between Sky Blue and Julia Hart. Chris Statlander's sort of involved in that as well. Maybe Red Velvet is. Perhaps I've missed that. Kind of as, you know, perhaps bits that I've missed of the show. I actually think that what I'd love to see is Julia Hart to walk out with it. I feel like it continues that storyline. I think, you know, it gives her a bit more of a build as well. I think I did predict her for the last event as well, to be honest. And I think maybe a feud with her and Sky Blue for the TBS title could be, could be fun. What do you think, Robbie? Who do you think is going out with the TBS title?
Julia Hart.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying her matches.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, when the women's match, you half eye off, but I'm enjoying it. As I do every single pay-per-view, I do predict the Sky Blue heel turn. For some reason, I always want a heel turn on a pay-per-view. Because even though she missed it, Julia Hart, it's still a bit, is she going to turn and help Julia Hart win the title? And then join Kings of the House of Black. So yeah, Julia Hart.
Cool. Do you agree, Peter? Julia Hart?
Yeah, I'm with Julia Hart. I think it's her time. She's, I think, one of the most improved wrestlers of the last 12 months. She's come on so much. She works so much better, a lot crisper, smoother, and she's incorporating a character into her work as well. So it's, you believe that's what her character would do, rather than I've got a set of moves, but this is my character. They kind of intertwine with each other, which I think's really nice thing to see, which you don't see a lot of, actually, to be fair.
No, you don't.
Across the board. So I think it's really nice. And I think it's her time. I think, you know, we've talked throughout the podcast, whenever AEW's come up, Julia Hart's always been this one where, like, she's ready and she's, you know, she's earned it, and I'm going for it's her time for this.
I think when you're talking about that kind of weaving the character into your in-ring style, that's something that there's even some world champions that you don't see that with. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think you're right. It's not something as common as you would expect, and I think it is something she does really well. And I just love the whole character and the shtick of it as well. I think it's awesome. I mean, Kev, it's Julia's running away with it so far. Would you agree with us?
I agree. Yeah, I'll go for Julia Hart as well on that one. Yeah,
no worries. And how about you, David?
I'm going to go Chris Statlander.
Okay.
Just so that hopefully you will all lose a point here and I'll gain one.
So now we're getting into tactical predictions.
Yes.
That's what's happening now. Which I'm not mad at. I'm not mad at. I enjoy that. So this is tough because obviously this match was also on the last pay-per-view. So we're going with Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland 2. Now,
Texas Death Match.
is it a Texas Death Match? I missed that.
Yeah, now it's
Texas
on
Death Match.
Dynamite.
Ah, cool. Well, that's good to know. So, tell you what, Dave, because you obviously you've let us know about that. Do you think that changes things? Do you think that gives Hangman a win, or do you think that Swerve's going to continue on this rise that he's on?
Hopefully Swerve will win because I cannot stand Hangman Page. He's no Swerve.
I mean, I'm going to say as well. Like, I think I've probably said a few times now over the course of the podcast, just like how awesome I think Swerve Strickland is, and just like, you know, he was just part of, you know, he was part of a stable in WWE, and that was fine and that was great. But he's come to AEW and just absolutely killed it. And for me, I kind of want him to be the guy to take the title off MJF when, unfortunately, that title reign ends. So for me, you know, I'm with you. I'm going to go with Swerve. What do you think, Robbie?
Before the announcement of the Texas Death Match, I would have probably went Swerve, but I think the stipulation puts it in Hangman's side. I know I said this in the last one, and I slated Swerve, and I ended up looking like a twat. But I think if Hangman wins this, they have to have a third, which is then when I think Swerve will win the series, so to speak. So I do believe Swerve will take Page's spot. I just don't think it's a full year.
Just don't think it's yet. And you know, it's like, I wouldn't be mad at seeing a third match, to be honest. So, you know, I'd be a bit pissed to lose a point, but like, I'd be pleased to know there's hopefully another match on the horizon. I mean, what do you think, Peter?
Exactly the same mindset as Robbie. I thought it would have been Swerve, and then Texas Death Match and Hangman's promo. I'm like, it's going to be Hangman, and this is going to be an uncomfortable watch for all the right reasons, I think. I think these guys might steal the show.
I think I feel like they probably did at the last event, so I don't think there's any reason why they wouldn't this time. You know, it was a great match. I mean, Kev, I guess you break the deadlock. Are you going Swerve or are you going Hangman?
I'm a massive fan of him, but I think he's going to win that. But
cool.
I want him to win, but I think he's going to win as well.
What I like about Hangman, I'm sure we'll talk about Adam Page another time. I kind of like how he's woven, and this is coming from the mental health professional in me. I love how he's woven in like anxiety and stuff into his character, and like how like he has these demons and like crises in confidence and all this kind of stuff. And I think you feel like that shouldn't work for a wrestling character, but I feel he does it really well. But yeah, that's another conversation for another time. So we'll move on to the Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks. So, you know, as I'm sure, you know, those listening, for those who don't, Golden Jets would be Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Again, I think this could be a fun match. Looking forward to seeing how Jericho keeps up with the Bucks and Omega. I mean, Kev, let's start with you. Who do you think's coming out with this one?
Well, I mean, it seems like win. So I think the Golden Jets that'll win.
And am I right? The stipulation is that if they lose, they've got to split up, like they can't team together again.
Yeah, but they win. So I think if the Jets win, they get the Bucks' title shot.
That's right. But I guess for me, I feel like, and again, we're thinking about the tag team title match, and we're thinking it's going to be a heel team, be it Ricky Starks and Big Bill, or be it Kings of the Black Throne, kind of coming away with it. Although, to be fair, I think although the House of Black are heels, like they're not getting booed. Let's be frank, like they're awesome. But like, I feel the Bucks are going to turn heel. I feel like that's the way that it's going. So I feel like, obviously, if the Golden Jets win, they get the title shot. That could force a heel turn. So that's the direction that I'm going, I think. I think it kind of opens up a couple of stories there, that, the Bucks can turn heel out of frustration. Jericho and Omega can challenge whichever heel team walks out for the titles. To be fair, Kings of the Black Throne against Jericho and Omega sounds amazing. But But yeah, so I'm going to go for the Golden Jets. What do you think, David?
Oh, it's a pick 'em.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go the Young Bucks.
Young
Tactical,
Bucks.
tactical.
You are being very tactical, though. I'm feeling it. So yeah, Peter, what do you reckon?
I'm trying really hard to care about this one. Because it's at the minute Kenny's stuck with the clout vampire and two guys who are ice cold, and it's hard to care about. I know the Bucks character is something like, oh, they just don't care, but they're not doing it well enough to make me not care about them. If you don't care, then why do I care about you one way or another? And I do like the Bucks, but again, I think they are all better individually outside of the elite than they are together. The Bucks, because I don't want to see Jericho near. I'm tired of Jericho, and I'm sorry, I like him, but he's the cool uncle at the barbecue that everyone tolerates. And hi, Lewis. But it's just no. I've got to. It's the Bucks. I just because I don't want to see Jericho do anything else at the minute. Sorry.
So Peter's just made the list. Robbie, what do you reckon?
The Golden Jets, simply because I don't like the Young Bucks. They're not as good as they think they are, and they're just whining like twats at the minute. I don't like them. I've never got the, like, everybody raves our best tag team, but I've just never got them. I don't like them. As wrestlers, I mean, I don't know what they're like personally, but
Yeah.
nah, I just don't get it. I really don't, and it's like with Peter. What's he fucking called? Omega should be as far away from the Bucks as physically possible. I think the Bucks drag him down so they could beat the Bucks.
I don't know if it was
Go.
popular opinions, but there was something one of us had written about that, like Omega doesn't need them, but they need him.
Peter,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
I said the same about Hangman as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, but I think the Bucks drag down Hangman. I don't think they elevate anybody. It's just all about them. And for me, like I said, I just don't get it. I don't get the hype.
So we'll move on to. Oh, sorry, was that you, Kev?
I'm just saying, rant over.
Yeah,
Ah,
I'm just wondering.
yeah.
I'm wondering as well when they're going to drop the title Young, because I mean, like 30. I mean, one of them's like 38 and like 34. Late
Oh, wait, I'm
30s now.
37. Hang
Yeah,
on a
but-
minute.
Well, I'm 40, so I think it's time to drop the title Young. I mean,
Yeah. To be fair, I did spend the day telling my 25-year-old work colleague how she was young and I was old today. So yeah, I'm kind of in agreement. Let's move on to what I'll probably end up being my favorite match of the night, to be honest. Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley. Now, I know Orange Cassidy's someone that polarizes people. Like, I just think he's mint. Like, I really do. That was the t-shirt I bought it all in as well. I got myself an Orange Cassidy t-shirt. Rematch from the All Out main event for the international title. The title's been kind of hot potatoed for a while. Between Orange, Moxley, Rey Fenix, kind of back and forth. Cassidy and Moxley too. Let's start with Peter. Who do you think's going out with the international title at Full Gear?
I'm going to back Orange Cassidy.
Yeah,
and let Jon Moxley have a holiday and come back as a babyface.
Yeah,
because he
deserves that holiday,
and no one wants to boo him.
Mm-hmm. No,
so as much as you might like it, but come out. What I mean, it was hard watching him come out all in a wild thing and going, "Oh, he's a heel." Should have been epic, but yeah, I'm going with Orange Cassidy. He made that title. Let him, ride it again, and then find the next one to carry it on. But I'm going to see.
I feel like his title reign, the first one, was so good. Like, probably one of the best title reigns that would certainly the best in AEW. Well, it's a tie between him and MJF because I think his title reign's been fab too. But like, I feel like that Orange is the perfect person to build it back up again after, you know, I don't think it's taken too much of a hit after that kind of hot potato win, but like, I just don't think it should change hands again too soon. And I think that Moxley can take the loss. Might not be the worst thing, like you say, if he takes a little bit of time off. I've heard people asking if Renee is pregnant as well, and that makes me wonder if you know, perhaps there's rumblings of them having a second child as well. So let him take a bit of time off. Let him spend time with the family, and let Orange Cassidy do his thing because he's freaking awesome. Robbie, what do you think?
Moxley. This is a rivalry though that I thought wouldn't be good, but it is. I enjoy it because Cassidy's proven he can hang with the likes of Moxley and in those sort of matches. I mean, the match at All In, and plus Moxley, let's be honest, wasn't meant to lose a title. It was only because of the concussion, so I think they're going to give him the run that he should have had. Moxley, sorry.
Yeah. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I think Moxley's due for holiday, so it'll be Orange Cassidy. Just thing about Orange Cassidy to me, he looks like Calvin Harris. And I just can't get with someone who looks like Calvin Harris.
I'd never thought of that, man. No, he does. He really does. I think my thing with Orange Cassidy was that, like, at first, like, I think before AEW signed him, or like maybe he'd done the odd appearance and he was viral, I didn't get it. And I'm like, what's going on? Then I was watching him on AEW and, like, he made me laugh. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Because I'm a sucker for a wrestler that makes us laugh, like Danhausen, this kind of stuff. But then I think that international title reign particularly just showed like that he's like, he can go and matches with people like Moxley, and he's had some amazing title matches during that, like even ones with people like, I know I mention him all the time, but even like his match with Jeff Jarrett, do you know what I mean? Like just some really, really good international title matches. I'll have missed some amazing ones in there, with like people like Pac and all sorts. It was just an amazing run. So for me, it'd be nice to see him. I don't think it'll be as long as the first one. I don't think it needs to be, but I wouldn't want to see him lose it just yet. So how about you, David? Are you with us with Orange Cassidy? I know you're maybe not as big a fan of him as I am.
Orange Cassidy, because John Moxley doesn't really need a title. People are going to cheer him or boo him, whatever he's doing. So I think Orange for this one.
Yeah, totally. So we'll move on to kind of the pay-per-view debut of one Mr. Adam Copeland, who, we'll call Edge until the end of time, but, for kind of to be official about it. So it's Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland against Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. Again, I think this could be a fun match. I think Christian Cage, we've said this a couple of times, he's on like the run of his life. So I think it's going to be really, really good. Let's start with Kev this time. Who do you think is going to win the 6-man tag?
It's definitely going to be like Sting, Darby, and Adam Copeland. I think it'll be good for Christian to like have that loss on him just to make him really pissed off and have that do some really good promos and stuff. With the thing, like, I didn't watch it live, but when he hugged Adam Copeland, hugged Christian, he told him to go fuck himself. Was that live? Like, did people hear that on TV?
Yeah.
I think they just might beep it out.
I say I just beep it out. It wasn't until I watched it on TikTok I found out what he said.
Yeah, I was like, that's amazing. Like, it's just doing go fuck yourself. I'm really excited about this because it's just amazing, like storylines. Like he's got so much left in him, Christian. I think it's gonna be so good.
And how nice is it to think that obviously like Edge, like we thought his career was over, like we thought he was done, and then he came back in the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, but then decided to jump over, and like what a run it's been since. I mean, like to be fair, he was doing Kenny as a face, but he's always been a heel. Like there's certain wrestlers who just should be. Do you know what I mean? And he's one of them. I mean, Robbie, what do you reckon? Do you reckon? Do you reckon the good guys, Sting and friends, as I've put there? Do you think Sting and friends are gonna take it?
Yeah, I don't think Sting's gonna lose much, if any, from now into his retirement. It's Edge's first pay-per-view. I don't think they're gonna make him lose. I hope Christian doesn't take the pin. I think that might be Nick Wayne. But going on Christian, I mean,
The Stingers.
he at this moment in
Sorry.
time, Christian is awesome. I love him. Every time his music hits, I'm like, right, where we're going now? How dark is it going to get this week? And he just seems to just get darker and darker every single week, and nobody cares.
No,
Nobody's sighing as if to say that, oh, that's too far. They're cheering it.
It's that Ricky Gervais thing, isn't it? That it's like Ricky Gervais will say things, and like if people don't like Ricky Gervais or they're offended, they'll not watch it. But if you're a fan, it's like he says he likes that. Initially, it's the laugh, and then you go like, ooh, like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what Christian's doing.
Yeah.
Like your initial guts to laugh, and then you're like, that's actually really fucking dark.
I mean, especially the memes that are coming out. I mean, I saw the Lion King one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Was it you, Mike, who posted that song?
Was it the Muppets one, or was it his
Yeah,
entrance
that was
music?
fucking brilliant.
I mean,
The entrance music one's funny, but the Muppets was my favorite.
I-
It was the Manar Manar song for anyone who's not seen it. We'll have to put it on the Mark Side pages. We've speaking of which, we've got the Mark Side of the Ring Facebook group that you can join, but there's now also a Mark Side of the Ring news feed page that you can like. So Robbie's going to post all the latest news on there. So I reckon I'll post some memes on there as well from time to time because they're fun. I'm going to go with the Stingers as well because I thought Sting and Friends seemed nice, but I feel they should be called the Stingers. And I do think that Nick Wayne's going to take the pin because I think that one, you've got Sting on that side, but I also just think Christian beat Darby, so I think Darby needs a bit of heat back, and I just don't think Adam Copeland's going to be on the losing side for his first his first pay-per-view match with the company. So I'm going the Stingers, and I mean it looks quite heel heavy so far, maybe. So I'm thinking that as I've christened them, the Stingers are going over. What do you reckon, David?
Well, on paper, it looks like the Stingers are going to win it.
Yep, the
But
Stingers.
I'm going to say Christian Cage.
All tactics again.
No, it's quite predictable that Sting and Edge and Darby will win. So let's just throw some.
The
Whatever.
cagey luchasaurs.
have you heard what he's actually called the state, or the rumor that the state was going to be called?
No.
The patriarchy.
Oh, I like that. Like that's funny, but I like it.
Like what a
I hope
dick
that's true.
move.
I would be all over that.
I don't know if it's official, but
It's better than.
I've heard
Sorry,
that
go for
band.
it.
I've heard that banded out. I don't know how official it is, but that's what I've heard. I'm like, what a prick.
Well, if Tony Khan says this, they'll be called the cagey luchasaurs because he's going to think it's amazing. So, sorry for anyone who liked that patriarchy, but that's a really good name for a stable. Incidentally, I think they should go with that. I mean, do you think it is the patriarchy, the cagey luchasaurs, or do you think the Stingers are going home with it?
Just a quick one there. Apparently, it was mentioned during Collision, that name. So apparently, it's
Was
official.
it?
Yeah,
Ah.
just Google it.
It's Sting in his new squad. I think that's again, Robbie. I don't see Sting being involved in a match where he loses until his last one, and I think we need a way to get the Copeland and Christian at some point. I think Christian's team losing it might be the catalyst to kind of spur those two together and get them separate up. So, because if the heels win, where's the motivation to want any of them to fight in any other capacity? Again, they've won. But if the baby faces win this one, and like Christian's pissed off, Edge is like, well, if you want to do something about it, there you go. Whereas if it's the other way around, there's no incentive for Christian to do something about it. So that's why I'm going for the Sting team.
I thought I heard you say Sting Squad, and I also really like that.
Because
I nearly changed them all to Sting Squad.
That's because as Dave will be is a bit of an old school fan like me. Sting Squadron for more games.
Games.
Yeah.
Which I've got.
Games.
War game. How good was that at
Which was
PS2
two
War
rings.
Games, by the way? 2 rings,
I
Kev.
love the 2 rings. Love the 2 rings.
And I'm just saying, like,
Every-
if you
You know
play,
what it is?
if you play rugby sevens, right? When you play with like the full team, you don't have 2 fucking pitches. You just play the same pitch.
Oh.
You wouldn't play with 2 fucking pitches, then, would you? There's no need for it. That's all I'm saying.
I feel I might have to just give you like 2 minutes where you just get to like just complain.
No, don't
about
give
war
him 2.
games.
Don't give him 2. Don't give him 2 minutes.
Yeah, I
Can't
just
have
need
2
one.
minutes. 1 minute.
I nearly said 5.
One is
no,
enough.
2's not. No, if he doesn't like 2 rings, he can't have 2 minutes. 1 minute. 1 minute a ring.
1 minute. 1 minute enough.
Fair. Let's we're definitely going to have more of these war games conversations because obviously Survivor Series is around the corner, so stay tuned for those. We're moving on to what I think is going to be a great match: Hikaru Shida versus Timeless Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship. I'm still a bit sore that they've taken it off Saraya, but if they were going to do it for anyone, Hikaru Shida is a pretty good pick. But Tony seems to be on a bit of a streak at the moment. I'm mixed on it because I like the gimmick, but I feel like that they're maybe kind of overplaying their card a little bit. But that's just me personally. I do think they seem really, really high on her at the moment, and I do think it might be Tony's time, pardon the pun, to take the title back. It does seem like she is kind of all over TV at the moment, and rightly so because she's really good at what she does. Robbie, do you think that Tony's gonna win the title back, or do you think Hikaru Shida's defending it for a bit longer?
No, I think Tony's going to win it.
Yeah.
To me though, Judy Hart should really be in the match, not Toni Storm. Just for improvement. I don't get the gimmick. It's either I'm missing something or it's just not that good. It's too much. A bit OTT. She's not even English, yet she's speaking an English accent.
I feel like for me, like it's like I like the idea of it, and I like the gimmick. I feel it jumped a little bit for me when they were doing like the silent movies during the picture-in-picture and stuff, and
That's where they lost me.
Yeah, but I still think she's great in the ring, and I feel like that. I feel like there was more to explore with kind of Ruby and Saraya and stuff, and that seems to have been left behind a bit. But I think it'll be a good match nonetheless. So we'll see what happens. What do you think, Peter? Do you think Toni Storm's going to be should be a 3-time women's champion at this point?
Yeah, I think they're going to go with the character that's hot at the minute. I think it's going to be Toni Storm. Shida sadly just seems to be a gatekeeper champion for God knows why, whether it's something to do with the availability she's got. But if you're going to use it and you get a deal and use it because she's really good, and like if all the Joshi talent that they brought across, she was the one that really did stand out as really being able to kind of hang and get you into it. So my heart wants to say Shida because God has you not earned it, but I think they're going to go with Toni Storm.
Yeah, and I feel the same, to be honest. Like I wouldn't be sad to see Toni take it because I think she is awesome. But like Hikaru Shida is amazing, and I think anyone who was at All In would agree the reaction she got when she came out was huge, probably bigger than Saraya's, to be honest. I think the reaction Saraya got when she won was really big. Yeah, but I think in terms of them coming out, it was probably Shida. And that's coming from a huge Saraya fan. But I think that, I think she's brilliant at what she does. What do you think, Kev? Who's winning the women's championship at Full Gear?
Toni Storm, and she's my favorite. Even though my wife will be watching this, and I'll get wrong afterwards, but I'm not ashamed. It's worth it.
My wife's fully accepted all my favorites. It's fine. it's an understanding. She's also like in love with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, and yeah, it's fine. It's all fine. So how about you, David? Is it a full sweep for Tony Storm? We've not actually had a full sweep yet, I don't think, for this one.
So this time it's not going to be tactical. It's going to be Tony Storm.
Okie doke.
Yep.
Right. Oh, and then finally we've got a match that I'm looking forward to it, but it's really interesting because there's so much going on in terms of the kind of the title scene at the moment. It could have been anyone, I think, who was in this slot. I feel like Samoa Joe could have been main eventing. Potentially Wardlow with kind of the backstory there. Probably other people as well. But they've gone with Jay White. I think the match will be great. I think the feud overall has been good. I'm not a huge fan of him just having the title and MJF continually defending it when there's not a physical belt. But that's just me being a bit of a dick and nitpicking, I think. I just don't think, as much as I like Jay White, I don't think he's the guy who's gonna take the title off MJF, particularly because he's been holding it hostage for a few weeks. So I think MJF gets the title back at Full Gear, because I do think we're probably building towards either Adam Cole or Swerve Strickland walking out with that title eventually. Probably Swerve, to be honest. David, what do you think? Do you think that MJF's retaining, or do you think that they'll pull a bit of a surprise and that Jay White will take it?
Well, with MJF going to be a free agent soon, if he does decide he's going to need to lose the title at some point.
Yeah.
But I think it'll probably be whoever's the devil will probably be the one who will be taking the title off him. So I've got MJF
Okay.
to win this time.
What do you think, Peter?
It's MJF. It's not time for Jay White just yet. I think he was a world champion in the future, and I think this storyline doesn't kind of fit to him winning. It certainly doesn't seem to make sense story-wise. There's a bigger story in play, with everybody seeming to be after MJF. So, there's speculation that the World's End thing's going to be, some kind of a super stipulation multi-man match. We'll get to that with everyone that's gunning for the one babyface, so MJF and 4 heels. So he's going to carry it all in. It's MJF.
Okay. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, MJF. Can't see it. Can't see it getting dropped.
And how about you, Robbie? Is it a full sweep for MJF?
Yeah, MJF. Like you, I don't get why they're letting Jay White walk about with the title. Again, he's another one I just for me hasn't clicked. Yeah, I think for that reason, the fact Jay White's had the title, MJF's going to win it back.
Okie doke. So that's it. And like I say, I'm sure that knowing the size of cards on AEW events this year, I could see them adding a match or two more. We do have the pre-show with MJF against the Guns. I do wonder if the Guns will take that. I feel like the whole defending the titles on his own probably comes to an end on Sunday, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Full Gear available, on pay-per-view, on Fight TV, all those places on Sunday. So obviously a lot of kind of Wrestle Profit stuff and predicting.
Saturday.
It's Saturday, is it? Oh, perfect. I'll watch it Sunday morning then. There you go.
Because
Collision's
going head to head with SmackDown on Friday.
Oh, so that'll be a talking point for us next time. Absolutely.
Get the tinfoil hat. Get the tinfoil hats out for Friday, boys. CM Punk cut the promo on the show made for him.
That could be fun.
Speaking of CM Punk, in the same week as Survivor Series, AEW is also in Chicago.
Really?
Just that reminds that little nugget out there.
That reminds me. I don't think I'm sharing my screen anymore, but I'll pop them on. Our 5-pointer question. So obviously there's been speculation that it could be CM Punk, it could be Britt Baker, it could be Adam Cole, it could be Roman Reigns, because my sources tell me that it could be him. Will we learn the identity of the Masked Devil? That's our or 5-pointer, and I'm going to start with Robbie. Will we learn the identity of the Masked Devil at Full Gear?
Oh, it's a fucking hard one. This it's probably the hardest 5-pointer we've had.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm gonna go yes,
Mm-hmm.
simply because when it was debuted, we found out who it was on the same show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it was the ladder match for the
Yeah.
world title, and by the end, when MJF played the phone conversation with Tony Khan,
Yeah.
I think so, and I think that'll be the next challenger for the title.
Okay. How about you, Peter? Do you think this is where we learn who it is?
Oh God, man. Oh, fuck's sake! No. I've, if they're smart about it,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah.
So then the answer
Yeah,
should
but
be
it-
yes.
With Tony Khan, yeah.
I'm going to say no, simply because I feel they can ride it out a bit more. You know what I mean? Especially because he's got like all these other people after him. You know what I mean? People can say, "Is it this guy? Is it that guy?" And then it's like the Butler did it. Do you know what I mean? Like it could be totally left field, or at least in Tony Khan's eyes, it might be totally left field, and then no one's expecting it.
CM Punk.
CM Punk.
Fucking hell! Though it would
Paul Heyman.
it would melt
How much
down.
of a swerve would that be? That would
It'd
be
be the
one of the
greatest swerve in
best
wrestling
things
history.
I've seen in a long, long time.
But
Mhm.
do you know what makes me think it's actually not? Because that locker room can't keep anything a fucking secret, so it probably isn't.
Mm. Yeah.
And you cannot work the boys like that. There'd be a riot, especially when the main, you know, ones who took umbrage had just re-upped for another 3 or 4 years. So,
I suppose Khan would want his life in danger again, I suppose.
I'll tell you who I think it is. Hang on, I'm going to make sure you can see it. It's Big Papa Pump.
Big Papa Pump.
Big Papa Pump is your hook up. That's who it is.
Uh,
That's who it is. I'm telling you.
in fact, you know what it is? I'm going to say
And here first.
I'm staying with no. I'm staying with no, and I'm going to look like.
Well, I'm no as well. So if we're wrong together.
I'm going to look like.
What do you think, Kev?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say no as well. But again, I mean, if this is revealed as CM Punk, I mean, and that whole thing with Tony Khan saying, I mean, they've had to have done it since Wembley. The whole thing about him, like, if that's all being staged and set up, I mean, that's taking kayfabe to the next level. Which I secretly hope it is, because it's showing that kayfabe's alive and well. But like what Peter was saying, that like even Jericho, like anything he gets, he puts on Facebook, like in case you missed it. So he's always like, I very much doubt they would be able to keep that secret.
And how about you, David? Do you think we're going to learn the identity of the Masked Devil, or do you think it's going to drag a bit longer?
I'll go yes.
Okay.
Yes, because
tactical.
Has Adam Cole been on Dynamite in the past couple of weeks?
Video
Just,
chat.
Yeah, video chat.
Right. But anyway, what happens when it's Tony Khan that's actually the Masked Devil?
Oh.
You know what it is?
Right drop.
You know what it is?
Yep, there we go.
Me all along.
Reliving it. He loves reliving his the
That
past.
could make sense though, with the whole MJF holding Tony Khan to ransom with the contract.
Don't put it in the ether. Don't put it in the ether.
It's already out there. It's out
I
there.
mean, I don't believe Tony Khan as a friggin' wrestling company owner, let alone a heel.
I am excited to announce.
Tickets are on sale.
Thanks, guys.
Next week on Dynamite.
I like him. I like him though. I do. I feel bad that I just picked on him because I like him.
He's
Don't feel sorry for a billionaire. Christ.
His dad's a billionaire, not him.
Wait, worse, don't feel sorry for a billionaire's son. That's worse.
His booking is like the way I used to play with my wrestling figures as a kid. That's what I've. It's his book. Half the time, it doesn't even make fucking sense.
I just realised because we haven't done Where is Roman Reigns this week because we knew he was in Saudi Arabia. Who's behind the mask? There, I've had my fill. I just wanted to play it. So, but yeah, so I think that's it. I think that's all we've got time for today. Just because there's just so much to cover in the news wise and stuff. But we'll be back after Full Gear to see how we've done. I'm sure there'll be plenty of chat about Kev's favourite match stipulation, plenty of chat about the Hitman, plenty of chat about anything you can think of. So thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Mark's Side of the Ring. As always, it's been a lot of fun, and we'll catch you next time. See you later. Cheers.
See you everyone. Been a pleasure.
Yeah.